We've seen the crowds increase, the wait times go up, reservations are harder and harder to get. Disney World's tough to plan right now, and it seems like it keeps getting harder. If you're eyeing all the hoops you need to jump through to plan a trip to Disney World and thinking, is this really all necessary? Yeah, this video is for you. Hey everybody, it's AJ for Disney Food Blog. More hotels and restaurants are opening in Disney World, and that should be a good sign, right? This slow push back to a normal Disney park-going experience is actually making a lot of things even harder, though. If you've been to Disney before, all these new policies and changes can throw you for a loop, and if you've never been before, you're probably wondering why people put themselves through this stress. Disney World's always been an easy vacation, at least for a lot of people. You book your package, you show up, ride rides, eat churros, and enjoy. But now it's not so easy. First of all, you actually have to get into the parks. Gone are the days of deciding on a whim that you want to visit Magic Kingdom and ride Space Mountain first thing in the morning. Just having a park ticket in advance isn't enough anymore. You can't just show up to a park whenever you want and walk right in. Disney is still requiring theme park reservations, and everyone with a ticket, so everyone ages 3 and up, needs to make one in order to enter a park. If you have a ticket that allows park hopping, you can pack a bit of spontaneity into your trip, but only after 2 p.m. You'll still need to make a theme park reservation for the first park you'll visit for the day and actually go to that park before you can hop to another one. You can't just make any reservation and wait until 2 to go to the park you really wanted to visit. You actually got to go to that first one first. And some dates can and will completely sell out. Park Pass reservations are split into different availability categories: resort guests, annual pass holders, and all other ticket holders that are not staying on site. You can check availability calendars before you plan your trip and buy tickets if you're not a pass holder. Holidays, long weekends, and special events are all going to be busy days in the parks, and we've seen Park Passes sell out completely for the 50th anniversary on October 1st in both Magic Kingdom and Epcot. Often, more reservations will become available, so if you don't get that date at first, keep checking back and sign up for our newsletter. We got the link below this video. We let our subscribers know ASAP when more park passes become available for popular days in the parks. As of now, Disney's allowing theme park reservations to be made into January 2023. The system will likely be around for the foreseeable future, so don't hold off on making those reservations. As soon as you know the dates for your next trip, grab those tickets and make those park pass reservations. You can always move them, you can always change them. They don't cost anything. And in the past, we've seen guests completely shut out of the parks, like during spring break this year. You do not want that to happen to you, so book early. You can always change your plans if park passes are still available. Now, get this. Deluxe hotel reservations are necessary for certain perks right now. Now, for a long time, people staying at Disney hotels were really getting the short end of the stick, paying lots of money for very few perks. Now, those extra incentives to stay on site at Disney World are coming back, but it's a little different, and we're faced with a tough decision. Spend hundreds more to stay at a Disney hotel or miss out on extra time in the parks. Staying off-site at hotels or vacation rentals around but not at Disney World can save you a lot of money or just get you some more space. But come October, you might be missing out on hours that could be spent in the park with lower crowd levels. Beginning October 1st, guests staying at Disney-owned hotels or some of the Good Neighbor hotels nearby, places like Swan and Dolphin, and hotels by Disney Springs, will get extra time in the parks every single day. Those folks will be able to get into every park 30 minutes before they open to everyone else. That might not seem like a lot of time, but if you've watched the channel or read any Disney World top tips, you've probably heard about rope drop. Now, rope drop is the moment people are allowed to start getting on rides. Sometimes this involves literally dropping a rope. You'll still see it happen in Magic Kingdom. Getting to the parks for rope drop means you will be one of the first in line for rides, meaning there won't be a wait. This is a big deal for rides that often have 2+ hour long waits throughout most of the day, and there's no fast pass. With 30 extra minutes in the morning, you can ride 1, if not 2 rides before everyone else is allowed in. And you can probably jump in line for a third. And if you don't have access to that perk, that means you'll be guaranteed lines from the moment you set foot in the park, no matter how early you arrive. Now, if you're shelling out the big bucks to stay at Disney's deluxe hotels and deluxe villas or the Swan and Dolphin, you'll get even more extra time in the parks. Extended evening hours also start in early October, but they won't be available every day. Currently, Epcot will host extended evening hours on Mondays, and Magic Kingdom will have them on Wednesdays. On those nights, those folks staying at the right hotels will get to stay in the parks 2 hours after they close to everyone else. Now, 2 hours with low crowds can mean you make it on a whole lot of rides. rides, a lot more than those extra 30 minutes in the morning might get you. If even a night or two in a deluxe resort might be a good use of your money. These extended evening hours have the potential to be like an after-hours event, but for free. Well, the way that anything at Disney World is free. The after-hours events we've seen in years past were 3 hours long, or like the ones that Disney has replacing their Halloween and Christmas parties this year. Typically, those events we've been to have had very low waits, even for some of the most popular rides in the parks. Those after-hours events would come with free snacks, but at $130 a pop, even getting access to just the rides for 2 hours as part of your hotel reservation is a pretty big perk, especially when it's limited to only certain hotel guests. Before, Extra Magic Hours, Disney's previous incarnation of extended hours, would sometimes include evening hours. And even with that perk open to all hotel guests, even Good Neighbor hotels, lines would be dramatically shorter. So, if only people staying at deluxe resorts and villa resorts have access to this new program, you should be able to get on a lot of rides. Now, is that okay that Disney's basically giving their highest paying guests more perks? That's another video. Okay, the next thing that's making Disney World even harder than it was before is that rules, information, details, everything is constantly changing. I think we've all been through the same experience in the past 2 years. We kind of get the drill. One of the hardest things to keep up with at Disney World right now is all the constant changes. Just like things are changing in our regular towns, cities, and counties, everything's changing at Disney World as well. At DFB, we cover this day in and day out with all the constant restaurant openings, hours changing, policies changing, mask rules. We're always researching the fine points, the fine print to make sure you're up to date on all the latest before your trip. Because Disney changes that stuff and they change it in the middle of the night. So we got to keep an eye on it. Now, if this isn't your day job the way it is ours, it can be really tough to stay on top of everything. And that's why we're here. Restaurants are reopening nearly every week right now, and we're expecting some big announcements coming this month. BOMA at Animal Kingdom Lodge has yet to reopen, but with the resort reopening, it's very likely we're going to get that announcement soon. We're still waiting on the opening date for Space 220 and La Crêperie de Paris. The Disney Dining Plan is returning, so we're on the lookout for when you can start booking that. And FastPass could be returning soon. You don't want to miss that announcement. There have also been health and safety policy updates in the past few weeks, with Disney reinstating indoor mask usage throughout the resort. And often rides, shows, and restaurants may soft open with no notice. Don't worry, we'll be your notice. The easiest way to stay on top of everything leading up to your next trip is to sign up for our DFB newsletter. It's free, we send it out nearly every day, and whenever there's huge news to report on, you will have an email in your inbox. Like I said, the link is just below this video, and you can also follow us on our social channels, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. We make sure our followers get that news ASAP as well. All right, this is a really good video, you guys. Every time I go to one of the new numbers here, I'm like, oh yeah, that's really hard. The next one is deciding if it's worth it. Now, this whole video is making things abundantly clear that going to Disney World right now can be challenging. So how do you decide if it's worth jumping through all those hoops? If you've never been to Disney World before and you need to have those picture-perfect hugs with Mickey or see the parade right down Main Street, you might want to wait until those things are back, because they're not back right now. Many restaurants are still closed, though the list is getting shorter week to week, and lots of live entertainment has yet to return. Park hours are starting to get a bit longer, and come the fall, when Disney expects crowds to be larger, the parks will likely be open longer. We're hearing from a lot of our readers and viewers that Disney World just isn't as magical as it normally is right now. A lot of our perception of how enjoyable a meal or vacation is can be boiled down to our attitude, and I'm sure a lot of us have been experiencing an unprecedented level of stress over the past year and a half. Still, labor shortages and overall reopening trickiness is attributing to a different experience than what a lot of us are used to in the most magical place on Earth. We're hearing about some great trips you've had in the past year, so it's really going to depend on you and your family when deciding if it's the right time to go to Disney World. There's no doubt about it that this pandemic will have long-lasting effects on the Disney parks, but character meet and greets and parades will probably return, shows and restaurants will reopen, and things will feel normal again, but bottom line, Disney World will be there whenever it's the right time for you to go. All right, next let's talk dining. Lots of restaurants are reopening, but there are still quite a few that aren't available or aren't what they used to be. Many character meals still haven't come back. Disney's really only running character meals with Mickey, so you won't be seeing the princess dining that you usually do at Disney World. You can see Cinderella for a brief moment at Cinderella's Royal Table, but places like Akershus, Trattoria Al Forno's, Bon Voyage Breakfast, 1900 Park Fare, and Storybook Dining at Artist Point with Snow White still have not returned. And some reservations have always been tough to get. Be Our Guests Cinderella's Royal Table, Chef Mickey's, Oga's Cantina. But now, even places we have always been able to snag at a last-minute reservation for are totally booked up. Sanaa, one of our hidden gem restaurants over at Animal Kingdom Lodge Kidani Village, can be a tough one to get now. Restaurants seem to be returning to full capacity, but it's still hard to get those reservations. Disney's still only allowing advanced dining reservations to be made 60 days ahead of time. It used to be 180 days out. At least then you had an advantage to knowing where you want to eat dinner 6 months ahead of time. This is one of those things that could change at any time though, so be sure to stick with the news if you're going to need to make a dining reservation coming up. All right, menus. Some menus are still limited or have changed, so your favorites might not be available. Heads up, the fried chicken isn't at Trail's End anymore. It's not coming back as far as we know. If that was your favorite, you might want to rethink a reservation there. The pineapple upside down cake with Dole Whip on top still hasn't come back to Aloha Isle, and there are a lot of menus that are still limited around Disney World. So look at those menus, check them out, look at our recent reviews. We're reviewing every single restaurant as it reopens, so check out those reviews and see what it's like now. And mobile ordering has even made grab-and-go meals all the more complicated. Lots of quick service locations are mobile order only right now. Everyone's being asked to order via your smartphone unless there are extenuating circumstances that mean you must order with a cast member, like you have allergies or you really need to use cash. There are a finite number of mobile order pickup times available, so if you don't get your pickup time logged early, you might not get to eat there just because there are no times available to pick up food, or you might only be able to get a pickup time hours later in the day when you're park hopping to a different park. Moral of the story, dining's going to take more planning than you're used to as more and more places are using mobile order and requiring reservations in advance. Next thing that's harder about Disney World right now, lines are long, like really long. You've made the decision to go. You got your park passes sorted out. You made some dinner reservations. At least you didn't have to plan for rides in advance, right? Well, not having to wake up early to schedule your FastPass reservations has been pretty nice, but those lines are getting long now. We're not having to stay 6 feet apart anymore, but the lines for rides are still a lot longer than usual, and it's not just rides. You're still going to encounter lines all over the parks for snacks and even sometimes shops. This creates the new problem of actually finding where the line ends. A lot of times the end of the queue is not where you would expect it to be and you walk right by. Like the Tower of Terror line starting at the entrance to Sunset Boulevard long. You might end up backtracking to actually get in line. You don't want to spend a lot of extra time roaming around or accidentally jump in front of a bunch of people because you didn't realize the line started way back there. A lot of people are having the experience right now where they pass by China to get to Norway and Epcot to get in line for Frozen Ever After and then realize they have to walk back to China because that's where the Frozen Ever After line is. So keep an eye out for end of the line signs and keep in mind that oftentimes there will be a break in the line for crosswalks. So what looks like the end might not really be the end. This can mean a lot more walking for kiddos or carrying kiddos when you have to park the stroller and meander through long, winding lines. So be prepared, keep an eye on that. And getting on rides can be hard. Finding the end of the line can be hard, but what if the end of the line is digital? Rise the Resistance is the one ride in Disney World that you can't just hop in line for. You've got to make a reservation to ride, and you can only do that at a certain time within the My Disney Experience app, and only if you've got a Park Pass reservation for Hollywood Studios. If you're not ready to click at the exact moment the virtual queue or boarding groups are released, you might completely miss out on your chance to ride. We've got a cheat sheet of tips for you at disneyfoodblog.com/rise-tips. But overall, make sure you know how to get a boarding pass before you need to get a boarding pass. Right now, you can get them at 7 a.m. from anywhere and at 1 p.m. after you've already visited Hollywood Studios. Set an alarm. You don't want to miss the drops because they go fast, like 30 seconds fast. Now, one of the big questions we have is what happens once the Star Wars Hotel Galactic Star Cruiser opens. Guests staying at the uber expensive 2-night Experience Hotel are guaranteed to ride Rise the Resistance on their second day. With over 100 hotel rooms and the potential for 4+ guests in each room, that's a lot of people taking a lot of boarding passes. Only time will tell how much of an impact this will have on the availability of boarding groups for the rest of us, but we might be planning our Hollywood Studios day around when Galactic Star Cruiser has its shore excursion day. All right, next on our list of things that have gotten even harder at Disney World is transportation. If you've stayed at Disney World recently, you've probably seen the little ads promoting driving your own car to the theme parks. Why are they there? Well, because Disney transportation has been rough lately. Waits to get on buses, the monorail and Skyliner can be surprisingly long, even with capacity restrictions nearly gone. Disney's packing people on those buses, but you may still wait a while at the end of the night to head back to your hotel. If you're staying at the Polynesian Village Resort before the fall, you'll also need to leave extra extra time to get to Epcot and Magic Kingdom since the monorail station there is still closed. This is also true if you're trying to get to Ohana for dinner. You're going to have to bus it or take a car. Although I guess you could take the monorail to the Grand Floridian and then walk over to the Polynesian for Ohana. Now, minivans, Disney's official rideshare partnership with Lyft, aren't back yet. So if you want to pay to avoid the waits for other Disney forms of transportation, you're going to have to get a regular Lyft, Uber, or taxi. Even if you do have your own car at Disney, remember you'll need to pay nightly parking fees of $15 to $25, and you'll still likely encounter a decent amount of traffic when you arrive at the parks in the morning and when you're leaving at the end of the night. Okay, number 9 on our list of 15 ways Disney World's gotten harder, it keeps getting more expensive. Disney World is always getting pricier, even though we haven't seen major ticket price increases since just before the parks closed in 2020. There are still some changes that are going to impact your wallet, so let's dig into those. Magic bands, no longer free to hotel guests, by the way, have increased from $14.99 to $19.99, with special designs and limited edition bands hitting the $35 mark. Hotel guests and annual pass holders can still get discounts on Magic bands though, which isn't nothing. And other souvenirs like Wishables, those little plushes sold in blind bags, and other plushes like Nuimos have gotten a price hike, and the custom lightsaber building experience in Galaxy's Edge has gotten more expensive over the past year. Disney's introduced those new holiday after-hours events with pricing that goes all the way up to $200 for Halloween and Christmas Eve dates. Now, these events are shorter than Halloween and Christmas parties at the Magic Kingdom in years past, but the price tag is higher, so that doesn't make a lot of sense. Disney typically sets rates for hotels and park tickets once a year before they go on sale, but in previous years we've seen increases in pricing for food across the parks on October 1st, the start of Disney's fiscal year. We'll be on the lookout for those increases and if the Disney dining plan is more expensive once it finally returns. Now, hotel reservations are also hard to find right now. While every Disney World hotel is scheduled to reopen before 2022, we're still awaiting that official reopening, which means fewer hotel rooms are available to book right now, and there's lots of folks going to Disney World making up for all those trips that were canceled in 2020. Now, some Disney hotels have always been a little more difficult to book, themed rooms, Epcot area hotels during Epcot festivals, but now most hotels are pretty limited on availability. There are undoubtedly more people in the parks than there have been, and more people in hotel rooms. A lot of people want to travel and have already moved their Disney vacations to a time that was supposed to be safer. Suffice to say, a lot of hotel rooms are filling up, which means you'll want to book early to get the room you really want. If you're thinking about going to Disney for the holidays, get that hotel booked ASAP. Luckily, everything should be open by December 8th. Animal Kingdom Lodge Jumbo House is reopening August 26th. All-Star Music is reopening September 16th. Port Orleans Riverside on October 14th, and French Quarter on October 28th. And finally, All-Star Sports on December 9th. Barring any delays, that's the last of the hotels that had yet to reopen. Construction is also knocking down the amount of available rooms. The Contemporary should have all the rooms in the main building finished by the fall, but then the Garden Wings will be getting renovated to the new Incredibles theme. Grand Floridian's also getting some room renos in early 2022. You may need to play around with trip dates or have a backup hotel if the one you really want is booked solid. And don't forget, you can always go check and see if your preferred hotel has opened up. Many times I've had to book a different hotel and then I just kind of keep going back and seeing if I can change it to the hotel I want. People cancel their reservations all the time, so definitely keep trying. All right, number 11 on our list is that you can't resort hop freely anymore. One of the great things about Disney hotels used to be that even if you weren't staying there, you could visit whenever you wanted. Disney is still limiting who can visit hotels in order to keep track of crowds. You must be staying at a hotel or have a dining reservation in order to visit. At least that's the official language. In practice, sometimes a mobile order can grant you access to a hotel you aren't staying at, but it really is at the discretion of the cast member at security, and the answer might be no. If you want to visit a hotel you aren't spending the night at, make a reservation to eat there and plan to show up early or hang around after to explore the resort a bit. We'll be keeping an eye on Disney's policies regarding resort hopping because we really miss the ability to swing by a hotel just for a drink at a lounge without needing to plan ahead or make reservations. All right, the next thing on our list is something I'm sure we've all been experiencing constantly for the past, 30 years. Social media creates unrealistic expectations. Yeah, people are surrounded by Disney content and want to see, ride, eat, and do it all. You're scrolling through Instagram, seeing folks getting on Rise of the Resistance multiple days during their trips, seeing tons of characters, getting the most picture-perfect dole you've ever seen. That stuff is great and can help you decide what you want to do during your trip, but it's leaving about 3/4 of the story out. Believe me, because this is what I do every day. You should see some of the outtakes from our reporters in the parks. Now, for every amazing looking snack that we post, we got 5 that melted way too fast or crumbled as we cut them open to snap a picture of the filling of that cupcake, or it fell on the ground. We do our best to save those disasters, but it is not easy. Now, here at DFB, we always try to be realistic. How many times have I told you that your perfect Disney vacation is going to come to a screeching halt when you or your kids have a complete meltdown in the parks? What you're not seeing in those social media posts is the time it takes to create it all and do it all. We have a full team of reporters, content writers, and creators. That's not something your typical family trip to Disney World has behind it. So don't feel disappointed if your trip doesn't look like the professional Disney content creator's Instagram. Did you have fun but forget to take that photo of your cupcake in front of the castle before your kid took a bite? Experience the vacation first. Take photos second. And don't worry, nobody's trip actually looks like it does on Instagram. I guarantee it. Number 13 on our list, everything is digital. Oh my gosh, you just have to use your phone for everything. Want to ride Rise of the Resistance? Grab your phone. Want to order lunch? Grab your phone again. Most people probably have a smartphone, but if you don't, or yours runs out of battery while you're in the park, you might have some problems. Virtually every aspect of your Disney trip is stored in the My Disney Experience app, which can be super helpful, but can also drain your battery super fast if you need to pull it out to check your plans and showtimes all day long. Most planning is going to be done ahead of time, so save that phone battery and hold a hard copy of your plans so you don't need to pull it out for so many different things. You'll still find paper maps and times guides at the front of the park so you know how to get around and when character cavalcades will be coming down the street. If you want to go totally digital, you can do everything from your phone, including check out of some merchandise shops, get into your hotel room, or scan into the parks. If you're tech savvy and plan on bringing some external batteries and chargers, you can have all of Disney World at your fingertips, but know that you don't need to use your phone so much while you're on your trip if you do enough planning in advance. Set those dining reservations, grab your Rise of the Resistance pass at 7 a.m. before you leave the hotel, and you might only need to pull that phone out to take some photos. Number 14, I'm sure you've gleaned this from our previous numbers, but the crowds are coming back. Yeah, park capacity's up from the lowered percentages during the height of the pandemic. Disney hasn't given a number lately, but you can visibly tell the difference in park levels now versus a few months ago. Physical distancing markings are gone, even though indoor mask policies have returned. It's no longer enforced that you should stay further away from guests, and you might find yourself in closer proximity to strangers than you would like. You'll encounter crowds all over the place, character cavalcades, anytime it starts to rain and people are seeking some cover, in queues for rides, at shows, and of course during the fireworks. Fireworks are back and people are packing in to get a good spot for the show. So know your comfort level when it comes to crowds. Masks are not required outdoors, but you can put yours back on for personal comfort and security. If you're not ready for the Main Street fireworks crowds, watch the fireworks from a less crowded area, like behind the castle. You won't see all the projections, but most of the fireworks are visible from several areas of the park. Now, we're at a tough point in the pandemic where everyone's ready for things to get back to normal, but we're just not there yet. I personally have visited Disney World a lot less frequently in the past year. It's a tough choice, especially for someone whose job it is to cover this stuff day in and day out, but it's all about recognizing what you're comfortable with and adjusting. Also, I have a child who cannot be vaccinated right now, so that's contributing to my choices as well. One day we'll be able to go to Disney again without stressing about all the unknowns. I know it seems like that might be impossible right now, but even this will get better. Number 15 on our list, you gotta plan months in advance. All right, this video is a little bit more of a bummer, but even though your trip might be harder to plan than usual and you've got to plan months in advance for things that might change at the last minute, there's still the upside if you're going to Disney World. Disney World is our happy place, or at least it's my happy place. I hope all these tricky changes aren't getting you too hung up on the downsides. The good news is that most problems can be avoided by doing all that planning in advance. Sure, it's fun to have a spontaneous, carefree trip, but you know what's also fun? Not stressing about where you're eating dinner and potentially settling on a turkey leg because there's no mobile order to get a turkey leg. It's definitely getting harder and harder to have a good time if you don't start planning in advance, but take that planning in stride and make it part of your trip. There's a lot to know and a lot to stay on top of, but that's why we're here. It's why DFB exists, to help make the planning easier for you and hopefully fun. In addition to our channel here, with so many videos on everything you could ever need to know about Disney World, we've got our blog over at disneyfoodblog.com, all our social channels, and our guidebooks. We got a massive, over 800-page DFB guide to Walt Disney World dining that is going to break down everything you want to know and the stuff you never even thought to ask about when it comes to eating in Disney World and budgeting for your trip. We've got snack guides guides, Epcot Festival guides, guides on the holidays at Disney World. These are jam-packed with so much info that we're constantly updating, and all of our guides come with a full money-back guarantee. It's real easy to get your money back. Bundle our guides for more savings, and don't forget to use code YouTube for a special discount just for our YouTube viewers. Yep, Disney World's hard. It's getting harder, but all that hard work that goes into planning can make for a very rewarding vacation. We're here to help you through every step of the way. We're keeping an eye on crowd levels, how restaurants are holding up post-reopening, and any changes that might affect your next trip. Stay tuned with us here at DFB Guide, and happy planning. Thanks for listening, and thanks for watching. As always, this is AJ for Disney Food Blog, and we'll see you real soon. Don't worry, it'll be okay.